At the gates of Arlington, they stopped him cold. "No clearance, sir." The guard barked, tablet glowing with a list that didn't have his name. Jack Heron, in his Tomb Guard blues, stood like a statue, eyes locked on the flag-draped casket in the distance. To the MPs, he was just a guy in a costume, some washed-up vet chasing old glory. But they didn't know, couldn't know, that 14 years ago, in the fire and dust of Fallujah, this man had carried a general out of hell itself. And as the drums began to roll, the one man who did know, a four-star legend with a debt etched in blood, was already on his way to set things right. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that values like honor, courage, and sacrifice still matter, join us in keeping their legacy alive. The alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m., sharp as a rifle crack, pulling Jack Heron out of a dream that still smelled like dessert dust and diesel. He swung his legs over the side of the bed in his cramped apartment above the auto shop in Fairfax, Virginia. The kind of place where the walls were thin enough to hear the neighbor's TV murmuring through the night. 48 years old, built like a retired linebacker who'd traded tackles for torque wrenches, Jack rubbed the stubble on his jaw and stared at the faded photo on the nightstand. It was him, 20 years younger, in the crisp blues of the old guard, standing sentinel at Arlington, the tomb of the unknowns. 21 steps, reverse arms, the eternal vigil. That badge still hung on the wall like a ghost, gleaming under the single bulb he'd flicked on. Coffee first, black, strong enough to strip paint, poured from a pot that had seen better days. As the steam rose, Jack's eyes drifted to the envelope on the kitchen cable. It had arrived 3 weeks back. No frills, just a plain white thing from the Thornton family. Not an invitation to the general's funeral, just the facts. Date, time, Arlington National Cemetery. General Elias Eli Thornton, 4-star legend, gone at 65 from that bastard cancer that ate him from the inside out. Jack had read it 17 times, folding and unfolding the creases until they were soft as old leather. Eli, the man who'd laughed like a thunderstorm rolling over the dunes, but fought like the devil himself in the streets of Fallujah. A debt from 14 years ago hung in that letter like smoke you couldn't shake. Jack stood, his joints popping like gravel under tires, and crossed to the closet. The garment bag rustled as he unzipped it, revealing the dress blues he'd kept pristine, mothballed and waiting. No parades for him anymore, no tourists snapping pics at the tomb, just a grease monkey fixing F-150s and Civics for folks who never asked about the scars on his knuckles. But today was about settling something that had been gnawing at him since Iraq. He slipped into the tunic, the wool hugging his frame like an old friend. Brass buttons caught the light, polished to a mirror shine that could blind a man. The trousers hung straight as a plumb line, creases sharp enough to cut paper. He knotted the tie with hands that still remembered how to cradle a rifle, then laced up the boots, black leather buffed until you could see your sins reflected back. In the mirror, the man staring back wasn't the corporal who charged into hell without a second thought. Gray threaded his temples, lines etched deep around eyes the color of Virginia's sky after a storm. But the bearing was there, ramrod straight shoulders, squared like he was still pacing those marble steps at the tomb. "Ain't no one gonna notice a gearhead in these threads," he muttered to his reflection, a half-smile tugging at his lip. "Yeah, right." He grabbed his cover, the stiff campaign hat, and headed out, locking the door behind him with a click that echoed too loud in the pre-dawn quiet. The bus to D.C. was half empty, a mix of early commuters nursing styrofoam cups and a couple of vets dozing in the back. Jack stared out the window as the suburbs blurred into the Beltway, sprawl, the Potomac glinting silver under the rising sun. His mind wandered back, unbidden, to the days when he'd guarded the ghosts at Arlington, the old guard, the 3rd Infantry, America's sentinels. One foot in front of the other, bayonet fixed, the weight of history on your shoulders. It was after